All right, so this week we will be workshopping your first full-length essay. This is the first full-length essay that is the persuasive essay. What you see in front of you here is the prompt as it would be shown to you in a STAR test. So the STAR test always has a read, think, write approach. They'll give you a quote in a box and they'll say, read the following quotation. Okay. So we have here a quotation. My definition of a free society is a society where it is safe to be unpopular. Right. And they tell you that that was from Adlai Stevenson, who was the 31st governor of Illinois and the United Nations ambassador from the United States for these years. Then they'll give you something to think about. Okay. They might give you some data. They might ask you some questions, right? So in here, this is directly out of your textbook. It says, think about the following question, all right? Freedom means different things to different people. What do we need in order to feel free, right? And if you guys have been paying attention, that is the essential question from our unit. We've talked about several types of freedom, right? We've discussed freedom of speech, which is vital to the American way of life. We've discussed freedom in terms of what other countries go through. So you guys remember the TED Talk with the woman from South Korea, or North Korea, sorry, who escaped to South Korea. And she talked about how until she managed to get to South Korea, how she managed to get to other countries, that she didn't even have the words for freedom. She didn't have the words for even love, familial love or romantic love outside of love for their quote unquote dear leader, right? So she was talking about how when she finally got to other countries or when she got down to South Korea, she was amazed at the different vocabulary for things, right? She said, I had the freedom of choice. I had the freedom to understand different concepts because if you don't have the words for it, you don't have the concept. Then we read about the freedom to choose hope in difficult situations, right? We read the eagle can soar or the hawk can soar, the text about disability and choosing to be hopeful despite disability, right? And then yesterday we read a text about the cost of not being free, right? And we talked about literal incarceration, right? Putting minors in prison for crimes. And we talked about how it doesn't rehabilitate someone who's committed a crime. And as a child, the cost is much higher than for an adult who is already set in their ways, right? So the emotional cost for trauma or um, the environment of incarceration and what it does to a developing mind, right? Your prefrontal cortex is still developing. And so it discussed the economic costs because removing the freedom to earn money because once you are incarcerated, it is difficult to find a job. They talked about the cost of socialization loss, so that when someone gets out from doing time and they've been there, they didn't get their socialization in their youth, they lose the ability to function in society, right? And so these are all freedoms that are lost. So we've looked at a lot of different types of freedom, right? Emotional, mental, physical. And so now that we've had that experience with different texts, right, you're going to write an essay about what freedom means to you. And you're going to write it in a way that you're defining freedom, right? So freedom is defined as the ability to be free. Okay, there's a quote right there. So um, it is my belief that is freedom is the ability to choose or make your own choices, even if it leads to you being unpopular, or even if it's an unpopular position. Da, 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 da. Okay, so you're gonna be brainstorming today. That's all we're doing. We're just planning today. And to help you, okay, I have an acronym. It is ABC Meet and so XYZ. ABC Meet and so XYZ. And I'll be having you guys repeat that until you memorize it. So when I ask you guys to tell me what acronym are we using for persuasive writing, you're gonna throw this at me real fast. ABC Meet and so XYZ. What does that mean, Mrs. O? Okay. So, oh, good morning, Bean. Your food's already there. Sorry, cat needed attention. Okay, so ABC, that's your introductory paragraph. A is your attention getter, aka your hook. Ignore my typo there. B is background information. Okay, so background information can be data that you remember or anecdotal data, right? So, like freedom of speech is something my friends and I have experience with because, it's some sort of background information talking about freedom. And then the big thing, your claim. What are you claiming, right? Freedom means to me blank, right? So your thesis statement. So your thesis statement has your claim followed by your 3 reasons. Now, it doesn't always have to be 3, right? In fact, if you don't know enough about all 3, I would say pick 1 or 2. And why do I say that? Because here's the thing. If you have a reason in your STAR test writing and you can't back it up, they'll just take off points. So whatever your reason is, okay, reason or reasons. Now, if you can come up with 2 really great ones, that's the best way to get a 3 or 4 on your STAR writing, okay? Now, what is meat? Meat is the meat of your essay, aka your body paragraphs. But no, I thought it was funny. Okay, so meat of your essay. M is the main point, right? Your topic sentence. When you start your paragraph out, what is the reason you're giving? Okay, what is the reason that freedom means blank? You'll give your evidence and research, right? So, what is it that supports your belief in whatever freedom means? Okay, or what do we need to be free, right? What is that idea of freedom? The analysis of this research and evidence, right? So you're going to explain this section, right? So let's say freedom is the ability to make choices even if they make you unpopular, right? So that's the topic. And then your evidence is in high school you have the ability to choose your interests, and for schools that don't have a uniform, you could say your fashion sense, even if it's not what's on trend. Okay. And then in the analysis and explanation, you could go further in and say, everybody has different tastes. Some people like insert brand shoes. Some people like insert brand clothes. Everybody has the freedom to make those decisions, even if it's not what is currently popular as dictated by magazines or social media. And then you'll transition out of your body paragraph, right? So we just kind of wrap things up. A lot of people will use a sentence stem, and that's totally okay. I will give you sentence stems when we work on the body paragraph, okay? Then we have what's called the counter argument side. You're going to acknowledge the opposite side's argument, okay? So what does that mean? You have to come up with a reason that someone might say your claim, your thesis is wrong, okay? So the opposite side might say that the freedom to make your own choices, even if it makes you unpopular, is not freedom at all because it causes you to lose the freedom of socialization, right? And then you would negate that. You would say, well, someone might say that the freedom to make your own choices, even if it makes you unpopular, is not freedom at all, because it removes the ability for you to socialize with your peer. But, and you have to use a strong counter word, right? So, however, and then how do you counter it, right? So you got to have another way of attacking that idea. However, this builds character, and that is the type of freedom of expression, or you can discuss that is a freedom to build your own identity. So you're negating that and you're defending your position, right? So freedom of expression, or the ability to build your own identity. And then you have to answer, well, so what? What's the point? Why is that important? Right? Then you have your conclusion, X, Y, Z. Okay? So X, to remind you to explain the thesis again. Y, to tell us, why should the audience care about your definition of freedom? Right? Why should I care? Me who's reading it, or your classmates who are reading it. Why should we care about your freedom, or your definition of what freedom is? Right? And the last one, zing. Okay? Leave the audience with a call to action. Tell them to do something. Command them, right? And make them think. So remember that life is not a popularity contest, and powerful and important people were not always popular, right? So you're telling them to remember. Or you say, go out and research the most influential people and recognize that they were not always popular for the decisions they made. Okay, so these are just some examples. All right, so what you guys are doing, the actual activity portion, is this planning page, okay? So your thing that you're going to do is you're going to come up with your thesis with the claim, right? What are you claiming? Freedom means blank, right? Freedom means blank. So what are you going to tell me? What does freedom mean? Okay, and feel free to Google ideas. I'm not saying no for this, right? This is your very first persuasive essay. I'm not going to force you to do a timed writing. This is a chance for you to go out there and say, what is freedom? Okay, now, do I want you to copy and paste it? No, I expect you to type it. So if you find something you like, type it. I want you to actually type it. Don't copy and paste. Because when you copy and paste, you're not creating any sort of muscle memory. When you do the act of writing something, which is the best way, you're developing a muscle memory for those language skills, right? Now, typing's not as good as handwriting it. So if you have a notebook, I 100% advise you to write this out before you complete the chart by typing it. But, we're virtual learning right now. Can't do anything about that. So make sure you type it out, because that is still better than nothing. All right. You're going to think about why someone might argue against your definition of freedom. Okay. So you're going to try and come up with some reasons. You don't have to use all of them. All right. But try and come up with one or two good reasons. All right. I don't want 3 crappy reasons. I'd rather have 2 really, really solid reasons, or even one like phenomenal reason that supports your definition of freedom, okay? And the evidence that goes with it, okay? And you're going to come up with a call to action. So you're not doing a whole fleshed outline today, right? You're coming up with your thesis, the counter argument, right? The person who's arguing against you, and the reasons with their evidence. So if you have reason 1, you have evidence 1, all right? And I think I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and that in, because I don't want anyone confused. Okay. And then the call to action, the zing. How are you going to leave them? So I would say I'll go ahead and upload some examples, right, of call to action that are not related to your topic, but you can look at the language, the way that they're written to help you. All right, let's get started.